Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He comes highly recommended by a lot of people out there, mainly because he's been able to help lots of people, business owners, owners of different companies, achieve more success, achieve more happiness, achieve more balance. And that is so important in today's day and age because we're so bombarded with so many things that we tend to lose focus and we get stressed out. Our life is completely out of whack, and we need that happiness. We need that balance, and he's been helping a lot of people do that. He's been impacting a lot of people because of that. He truly believes that when you can combine hard work, putting one foot in front of another, being resilient, and having that highly principled core value, that everything else will fall into place. Success will come, wealth will come, happiness will come. Just have those three main things, and you'll be set. He's the founder of an advertising agency back in the day. He grew that to great success. He sold that. He's also the author of 5+ books, I believe, and more on the way. So please welcome consultant, life coach, speaker, business writer, and entrepreneur, Mr. Steve Fales.
Thanks so much, Fong. I want to say that I really appreciate the name of your podcast with peak potential because really that's what it's all about. That's what I've tried to do throughout my life is just live to my peak potential and help other people live to their peak potential as well. And actually that's my personal mission statement right there is to help people to live to my own potential and help others do the same. So it's a great name for a podcast. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And it's always great speaking with people like yourself who's reached great potential and achieved great success and taking that knowledge and wisdom and passing that wisdom to others. I've been taught by some of my coaches that if you don't pass on that knowledge, that wisdom, then it's all wasted. Why keep it all to
That's right.
yourself kind of thing. So
That's
thank you
right.
very much
Yeah.
for being here. Now, let's hear your origin story. How did you get to where you are today? What were some of the trials and tribulations that got you to becoming this
Yeah.
person who's helping people reach better potentials, reach better success?
Thanks. Well, my business story starts just bagging groceries in a grocery store and in high school. But I had an interest in advertising, and I had a friend who worked in an advertising agency. And after work or whenever I had some spare time, I would hang out with him and just watch what he was doing. And it looked like so much fun advertising. And I was kind of a wordsmith. I always enjoyed writing. So I pursued a career in advertising, got a couple jobs, and worked for other advertising agencies and other in-house advertising departments for several years before launching my own company. Started as just myself in a spare bedroom of my house, but it grew pretty nicely. I worked incredible hours. You mentioned having coaches and mentors. I had a really tremendous mentor who helped me with my business, and his advice to me was when you start a company, it's only hard for the first 35 years. And so, yeah, that was kind of my journey. But I just worked hard and eventually got some clients, got some better clients and some bigger clients, and got staff and moved into bigger offices, and it worked out pretty well. I was eventually able to sell in 2020. So that's my business story. About the books you mentioned, that I've noticed some certain needs out there in the world, some connected to business. I have a couple of business books. I have a personal development book, and I have a book all about friendship that teaches people how to be a better friend. And that's kind of where I am today, trying to promote those concepts. That's what I'm about nowadays since I sold my business. I still do some consulting and mentoring and advertising and marketing and scaling because I was able to scale my own company. And I have a book about scaling as well. So yeah, so
Awesome.
that's my story.
Nice. Now, lots of people hear, oh, how to be a better friend. Okay, I'll put that book aside. I'll focus on the business books. However, friendship, relationships, all that kind of stuff goes hand in hand with
Yeah,
business.
it
Like
it
you can't
really
have
does.
it's because I've been talking to some of my clients that are trying to connect with their clients or connect with their audiences or certain clients who's trying to find a job and they can't get in the front door because they can't build that rapport
Yeah,
with people. It's all
right.
friendship, it's all relationship. What are some of the key
Yeah.
things that people don't realize that they're missing
Mhm.
out when it comes to building friendships and relationships?
Well, that's tremendous that you would even think of that. I do a presentation about these types of things, and I show exactly what you're talking about, how friendship relates to business. And I show two big companies, two big buildings that say, wow, this is a big company and that's a big company. And I ask people a question. I say, does this company do business with that company? Well, you could say yes, but when you boil it down, what's really happening there is that a person over here is doing business with a person over here. And it's all about people doing business with people. And we do business with people we like. And we like people who exemplify certain characteristics and certain traits. And that's what the book is about. So, for example, one of the things I talk about in the book is that everyone has a story. Everyone is an individual. That person you see at the grocery store, the cashier, she's much more than just the cashier. She has a life, she has a story. Now, you're not going to be able to get into a detailed conversation, perhaps, over while you're checking out your groceries, but you can ask, how are you today? And people are shocked, like, wow, thanks for asking. And sometimes they will tell you. But in business, even more so, it's important to build relationships, to get to know your customers and your clients. Now, you can't be phony about it because people see that miles away. But it's so simple not to be phony about it because people are fascinating. It's fun to get to hear people's stories. It's interesting. So I give techniques for this in the book. One thing that people always seem to enjoy hearing about is something I call conversation poker, where people try to upstage each other, so one business guy says to the other business guy, well, man, I was stuck on the tarmac for an hour and a half last week when I was flying out to Denver. And the other business guy says, well, I'll see you your hour and a half and I'll raise you my 3 hours stuck at LaGuardia. Or if somebody talks about their grandkid, my grandson just got straight A's. Well, I'll see you, your grandson, and I'll raise you my granddaughter who just graduated from Stanford. So conversation poker, always trying to upstage. Instead of that, what's better is to ask questions of people. Someone says, I was stuck on the tarmac for an hour and a half. You say, really? Wow, did you miss your meeting? Were you able to make your connecting flight? Just asking a couple questions before you turn the conversation around just does a world of good for people. People love to talk about themselves and love to tell you their stories. So that's just one technique I talk about in the book. I take the
Totally.
position in the go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I totally agree with that. I work with a lot of people who goes, but I'm shy. I don't like networking. I don't like going out and meeting people. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, well, what
Right.
do you want more? Do you want opportunities and potentials to get somewhere and whatnot? Because you can stay at home and do what you're doing right now, and nothing will change. In fact,
Hmm.
you might go backwards because everybody else is going forward. It's the moment where
Right.
you go outside and start networking with people that doors start opening. So they're like, okay, we want to do that, but I don't want to talk to people. I'm like, it's not that hard. You ask questions and
Right.
you go, uh-huh,
Exactly.
hmm, uh-huh,
Exactly.
hmm.
Exactly.
And then they'll go to
Exactly.
you, wow, what a
Yeah.
great conversation.
Exactly. And in fact, this concept, this understanding makes it easier for people who are shy. Because as you said, ask someone a question and well, it's famously said, talk to a man or woman about themselves and they'll listen for hours. So people love to talk. So yeah, it's easy if you're shy, ask questions and the conversation will carry itself. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Something that you mentioned in that part there was that some people are phony about it, and they don't want
Yeah.
to be phony about it. And when I said that some people are shy, they're introverted, they don't want to go out and ask those questions, and even asking a question makes them feel inauthentic because they usually don't do it.
Mm,
So then how does
mm,
one person battle that? They don't want to feel phony, but the fact that
yeah.
they're asking the question makes them feel awkward, which subconsciously makes them look kind of awkward. So how does one work with that?
Mm. I would say practice. I would say practice. And maybe start small, just with people you know, people you feel safe around, people who are closer to you than strangers. And I think you would find, or that person would find, how receptive the other person is to telling their story, to talking about themselves, and how it's not scary at all. But I can understand some people might push back against that, but I think it's a skill that, as you were saying, really needs to be developed because it's so important. And not only that, it's good for the planet, right? So I mean, we're helping other people, we're lifting their spirits and making them feel good. So yeah.
One of the best ways for people to improve and grow is to get feedback. I
Yeah.
work with some people who are looking for jobs, going through interviews and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to build rapport. They're trying to build relationships with the people that are interviewing them and all that kind of stuff. Yet it doesn't seem to get very far after the first round or something like that. But it's very
Mm.
difficult for them to go, hey, can I get some feedback? Or hey, why didn't I
Yeah.
get it? How would you recommend
Mhm.
people grow if they're not getting the feedback that they need to
Yeah.
adjust?
Well, in my company, of course, we didn't win every pitch we went on. We didn't get every project we pitched. And I always had a phrase that I would ask the client. I would say, could you please help me get better? And I found that most all the time, there's always the fringe, right, who don't have time for you. But I found that most of the time, the clients, the people were happy to answer that question. If I just said honestly, okay, I respect your decision. You didn't choose us, you didn't choose me. Could you help us get better and tell me what the factors were? So I think that's a technique people could use. Just ask someone, could you help me get better?
Yeah.
And
And
most of the time, I think people will respond.
and worst case scenario, they'll say no, and you end up with the same thing that you had.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you could share your journey about the growing that advertising agency, what was some of because
Sure.
like you went from day to day working a job to jumping into
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, and it seemed like
Yeah.
that was like the very first step you took. You went, okay, I'm done with this kind of grocery job. I'm gonna go right into entrepreneurship. Most people usually have another step
Yeah.
towards that, but you went right into
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. What was that like?
Well, yeah, not exactly. I was working in the grocery store and then I got a job in advertising working for other companies. I was working for a consumer electronics retailer back in the day, selling televisions and camcorders, stereo equipment, and whatnot. And it was a small, like family-owned company. And then the big box companies came to town, Best Buy, and at the time, Circuit City. And they put all the little guys out of business. So I kind of saw that coming. So I went to the owner and I said, I will do everything I'm doing now. I won't skip a beat and you only have to pay me 50% of what you're paying me now. But I'm going to start my own ad agency and my 50% won't be salary anymore. It'll be a fee to my agency. So they went for that. And the company lasted a while longer after that, but eventually they were put out of business. But that I had my first client. And I have to say that in those days, I basically networked and sold all day long. And I created ads all night long and took a little nap in between, 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And that lasted quite a while until I gained enough traction, had enough clients to where I could back down a little bit, hire an assistant and move my journey along that way. And then after a while, we picked up a couple of national clients, and it was off and running at that point. But yeah, that's my journey. It was a slow progression, but just kept going. Yeah.
Are there any slogans or ads that you're especially proud of that you can share?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I did I did a whole campaign. This is kind of funny. I did a whole campaign for an air conditioning manufacturer around a rebate, and I used a frog, and the frog was sitting by an air conditioner, and the frog was saying rebate, rebate, like that. And we did a lot of TV commercials with that. We did billboards that said rebate on the billboards, and back in the day, newspaper ads, radio ads. It was all around this rebate campaign with the frog. And yeah, we actually there's a company in South Florida that rents where I live, that rents animals for various ad agency and television shows and whatnot. And we had to rent a frog. We actually had to rent two frogs because the type of frog that we had changed colors, and it was sitting on mulch. It was a green frog sitting on mulch, and as the shot progressed, it would start turning brown. So we had to swap out the frog every so often until we got a good shot. But yeah, that's one that I was proud of. So yeah,
That is
we had
awesome.
some fun. Yeah.
I want to say I think I remember seeing that, or maybe it's because it's such a unique image and so fitting to the animal that I mean I could see it right now, and very very fitting. So that is a very good use of advertising right there. When it comes to the books, you went through a period of time of okay, you built your company, you sold your company, life lessons and all that kind of stuff. Then you went towards publishing and helping other people
Yeah.
spread the message and whatnot.
Yes,
Was that
yes.
something that somebody else goes, hey, you really got to put all this into there, or something that you went, I want to do this myself. I want to go out there and publish.
Mm. So my first book was a compilation of blog posts and emails that I had written to my employees. I used to send an email once a week to the employees, just kind of a personal development, motivational thing. And I did it every week, so 52 weeks a year. I compiled 3 years worth of those. That's 156. And I call it 3 years of Tuesday mornings. And it's just a compilation of many different personal development, business development articles, just very short articles. My next book was a concept that I invented about organizational culture. So in my company, it was an advertising agency, but over the years, when I had really good people working in the company, I was able to back down a little bit from the day-to-day advertising marketing and take on more of a consulting role with our clients. And one of the things I consulted on was organizational culture. And I invented a word. The word is companality. And because a person has a personality and a company has a companality. So I would give lectures and seminars and help companies develop their culture using that catchword, companality. So my book was called Companality, Developing Intentional Organizational Culture. And then after I sold the company, I just saw this need out there and about the friendship, and I just felt like I took the approach, which I believe that people want to be better friends and better neighbors and better parts of their community, and even better husbands and wives and brothers and sisters, but they don't have the tools. They don't exactly know how. They haven't thought of it. So that's why I wrote my book. I call it Loving Your Neighbor, but it's everybody's your neighbor, and it's about friendship, love. And so that was the motivation behind that book. So
And then in between all that stuff, you were also going around doing speaking engagements and
yeah,
training
yeah.
sessions and all that kind of stuff too, eh?
Yeah, I was very fortunate that I hooked up with a circuit of speaking where I would go around the country at different sales offices for a large corporation. They had many territory offices, and they would send me to all their offices, and I would go there and I would do a seminar on companality. And then maybe 6 months later, I'd come back and I'd do a seminar on digital marketing. And then I'd come back a few months later and I'd do a seminar on, let's say, building a business plan or a marketing plan. So yeah, I was very fortunate that I had this circuit that kept me in front of people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, throughout these phases of your career and life, what would you say are some of the biggest aha or learning lessons that you've gotten from your
Um,
advertising stage to your
yeah,
book
yeah,
writing to
yeah,
speaking? What's
yeah,
some of the things that
yeah,
you, oh wow, I never knew
yeah,
about this. Great to know now.
yeah. Yeah, so one big thing that my mentor always harped on was that people are the most important element of anything. Anybody with a credit card can start a business, right? So you can go out, you can get a computer, you can get desks, you can get whatever you want with a credit card. But what makes one business superior to another business are its people. So I was extremely focused on hiring only the best people and retaining the best people. And I have to say, I'm very pleased. My team was incredible. Of course, I'm still close to them today after we sold the business even. So that's one thing I would say, and that follows along the book with friendship. That people are what it's all about. The second thing, and you mentioned, I think in the bio, I don't remember, but about my endurance athletics and something that I take from the world of running marathons and triathlons to business and to life is just putting one foot in front of the other, just continuing to progress. I am not a talented runner. I am not a talented athlete. My only talent is that I continue moving forward. I don't miss a workout. I train. I don't train fast, but I train consistently. And that's how I was in business. I was not a genius by any means, but I was consistent on the basics, returning phone calls, returning emails. If I didn't know the answer to something, anybody who worked for me will tell you the magic phrase is I don't know, but I'll find out. And then follow up, find out and follow up. And when you do those things that are just basic, you wind up ahead of the pack because so many people don't do the basics. So again, it wasn't that I was supremely talented or have some kind of magic wand. It was that I just put one foot in front of the other consistently, every day, meeting our promises, doing what we said we would do, sometimes over delivering whenever possible. If you order 10,000 brochures from my company, we give you 11,000 for the same price. That type of thing. So yeah, those are a couple things. People and just plodding, continuing to move forward would be a couple big lessons.
First of all, I think we talked about this before in the green room before we started recording that I think you humble yourself on your running skills, and I think you also humble yourself when it comes to your expertise. I mean, some of the stuff that you have done, a lot of people wouldn't even dream of doing. I mean, look at the back of your wall. Like, it's filled with accolades
Yeah.
and medals and pennants and all that great stuff. And lots of people can't even do or won't even do 5K or even a K. So for somebody like yourself who's doing all this running, who's built a business, that is an accomplishment that many people aspire to even have or work towards. So that is incredible. And I love the fact that your mindset is that a marathon is basically you put one foot in front of another.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've heard a joke somewhere where, how hard is it? You just don't stop. So you just keep going.
exactly, exactly.
Eventually, you'll
Yeah.
get it done. And I
Yeah.
like to see that approach on a lot of other stuff that people think is difficult. Writing books, for
Mhm.
instance, they go, "Oh, it's too hard." Well,
Oh,
just don't stop writing. Write another word. Write another word.
exactly,
Eventually, you get
exactly.
it done. It's that consistency, that resiliency that you have that
Mhm.
allows you to succeed. Now,
It
back to
took
the
me it took me 3 years. It took me 3 years to write my last book.
well,
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you this, I have on my wall in my office, I'm home right now, but in my office, I have on my wall a framed blank sheet of paper, a blank sheet of paper framed. And the reason for that is my tribute to everyone who starts something, because that's where it begins, right? It begins with a blank spreadsheet for a business plan. It begins with a blank Word document for a book. It begins with a blank running plan for your next marathon. So anybody who can look at that blank sheet of paper and overcome it, have the courage to do something with it, is a hero to me. And that's my tribute. But that blank sheet of paper that's framed is my tribute to those people.
Exactly. And I think a lot of these challenges that people face, they need to start looking at it from different perspectives and asking to
Yeah.
question how. For instance, I think we were sharing about running marathons and whatnot, and lots of people go, "Wait, I can't do that." But what if I give you 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours? Okay, maybe I can. So writing the
Yeah.
book. Well, how about if the book is 10 pages, 20 pages,
Yeah.
100 pages, like whatever it is,
There you go.
eventually you should be able to
Sure.
get something done. And to stop having that limiting belief to prevent you from even getting started. So when
Yeah.
you're working with clients, what's your process? How do you, first of all, are there specific people that you're looking to work with? Because not everybody's a fit for everybody. And then
Sure.
secondly, what is your process of helping them get to the potential that they should be getting to?
Yeah. Well, these days, since I'm not actively involved in the advertising agency that I sold, I do a lot of consulting and mentoring, some some paid, but a lot more on a volunteer basis. I'm in an organization that provides volunteer mentoring to startups. And I would say that for me, the quote ideal client is a company that is brand new, or maybe they're have a little bit of traction, but they want to scale. And that's what I did best, thankfully. Again, I don't have a magic wand for that, but I did scale a business from zero to pretty good size, 26 employees. We made a couple of lists in South Florida, 13th largest advertising agency, made the list of 100 largest privately owned companies in South Florida. And so we scaled pretty well. And so that's where I can help people the most, is I can help people who want to scale their business. So I say, for example, if you're selling insurance, if you want to sell more insurance policies, that's what I used to do. And I really don't do that anymore. I don't help people sell more insurance policies. If you want to build your insurance business, that's what I do now. Although I can still help people who just want to sell more insurance policies, and I have resources for that. But more so these days, I'm more into helping companies scale. Yeah.
And when it comes to scaling, what would you say is the main three
Mm,
steps?
sure, sure. That very good. Three steps. Okay. Systems. Number one, systems. So many small business owners have everything up here in their head. And it's very hard to scale when all your processes are in your head. So you've got to be able to help other people do those types of things. There's a great book about this called the E Myth, and I'm actually helping another friend of mine write a book about systems right now. We're very close to finishing that. But yeah, so systems. Number two, I said it already, people. Finding good people, if you can't afford a full-time person, hire an executive assistant for 8 hours a week, or whatever it takes. But the quality of the person is very important. So having a good assistant, a good, what I call a second in command, that you can delegate to. And delegation is another whole topic. I won't get into that, but it's misunderstood. But but yes, so I would say those are the two top things that come to mind, is having systems and having people. And I guess the third one is knowing what your market wants. It's so many companies say, well, I'll do this and then I'll try to sell it. And that's backwards. The right way to do it is to say, this is what the market wants, and that's what I'll do. So being a more of a market-driven company than an engineering or product-driven company, it's fine to be product-driven, but only after you know what your market wants. So those are three things that come to my mind.
Now, throughout your career, has there been one thing that you done either wrong or failed yet at that
Oh,
is always
only
sticking out, that's only sticking out like a sore thumb all the time?
only one? Only one?
Well, yeah, it's a limited time show.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because that would take a lot of time. Yeah, of course. So the one thing or one thing that comes to mind that's actually kind of funny, but I'm afraid a lot of your audience might not get it because I'm so much older, but when I started in advertising, we created ads by hand, right? We created with X-Acto knives and rubber cement and on a drawing table and all that. And when we moved into the digital age, there were PCs competing with Macs. There was the program PageMaker competing with Quark, and there were the fonts, Bitstream fonts competing with Adobe fonts. And I said, well, I know what I'm doing. I went out and I bought PCs, not Macs. I bought PageMaker, not Quark, and I bought Bitstream fonts, not Adobe. And the whole industry went exactly the opposite direction. I mean, nobody in graphic design worked on a PC. They all went to Macs. And so I had to scrap all that. I couldn't find designers who wanted to work on PCs. They all wanted to work on Macs. So I had to scrap the whole thing and start over. Yeah, so that was a big mistake for
So
sure.
with that in mind, how do you mitigate that type of mistake in this day and age?
Ooh,
Like when
yeah,
all of a sudden there's either two paths and either way
yeah,
can go, how would you make the decision to go this way or that way?
yeah. Well, I would consult with industry leaders and try to understand as much as I could. Nobody has a crystal ball, and I guess it could have gone the other direction, maybe, or maybe I was just wasn't smart enough to see where the world was going. But the first thing I would do is consult with other people in the industry, try to get a bead. Of course, nowadays you can go on the internet and find a lot of information maybe about where things are headed. And the other thing is just start small, take smaller risks at first. So if you're wrong, it won't hurt you quite as much. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all your stories today. Let's put you back onto the world stage, and you have a couple minutes to share another great message. What would that last great message that you want people to remember Steve for?
My goodness. I can tell you what people resonate with when I meet with them, I consult with them, or coach individuals. What people resonate with a lot is to try and find your core values. I I am ferocious about living by a set of core values, which I have defined. I took the time. In my case, I actually took a couple days in a hotel. It's kind of an interesting story. I was had a meeting that was canceled, and I was already out of town. I had a couple nights in a hotel, and rather than just hurry up and go home, I just stayed at the hotel, and I devoted that time to really trying to get to know myself. And so I encourage people, maybe you don't have 2 days to spend in a hotel, but spend an hour or two in the park. Take a notepad, take a pen, turn off your phone, and try and really figure out what you stand for. And then maybe it's a paragraph that you write. I want to be the type of person who, or maybe it's a bunch of words that you write down, just a list of words. That's the way I've done it. Actually, I did a one sentence, which we talked about earlier about helping people achieve their full potential. And then I have a series of words, and then really get to know that and really get to feel that within yourself, and then live according to those values. And when I talk to people about that, and I have a process, I help people discover their values through a process that I teach. And when we do that, inevitably, every time people walk away saying, wow, that really helps. And it really helps people make decisions down the road. Because when you know what your core values are and the moment of decision comes up, it's much easier to know whether you should turn left or you should turn right because you have a compass, you have a something to go by. So that would be the big thing I think people really resonate with when I talk to them.
Great words to live by, and I think the big key there is for people to write it down, to have it on paper,
Yeah.
so they can see it.
Yes.
And then every time a decision comes up or a choice comes up, they go, okay, does this match with this? If not, okay, no.
Exactly.
And it's a lot easier
Exactly.
than, okay, let's think about
Yeah.
it. Well, you don't have to. You just look back. So thank you very much
That's
for
right.
that tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
before I do let you go, I do have five quick rapid fire questions for you. Just give me the first that can
Okay.
come to mind. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Red Thai curry.
Wow, very specific and very delicious. Great choice. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, we loved your story. It's very inspiration. We would like to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Okay. He's not an actor, and I hope he's not too controversial, but Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, I got casted to play you, and let's hang out." And you go, "Hey, Jordan, no problem. Let's go have some fun. I got the whole night planned out." What does that night look like?
That night looks like I live in South Florida on the coast on in Fort Lauderdale. So that night looks like we take a ride to the beach and we get a couple chairs. We set them on the beach. We listen to the surf come in and we talk because that man is fascinating. He's brilliant, and I would love to ask him questions for the evening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys talk for hours on end, and now it's dinner time. And he goes, "Hey, come on back. I got something nice fixed up for dinner. What's that special dish that you could fix up?
I can fix up.
Yeah, that you've cooked."
Oh, oh, I have to confess, I really am not a chef. So I have a nice gas grill in the backyard. So maybe I could grill some chicken or something, but we might have to get takeout because I'm really bad. I'm terrible. I'm
It's
great
that
at
red,
takeout.
it's that red curry, right? That you took
Right.
credit
Yeah, I would have
for.
right. No, I could not make red curry. I'd have to order it, but yeah.
Awesome. Number from 1 to 5.
Oh my. Three.
One, two, three. So the word is picture frame.
Picture for oh.
If you were to use picture frame as a metaphor for success, how is success like a picture frame?
Well, I'm going to cheat now because I actually have a saying about a picture frame, which I was taught by a mentor of mine who told me it's hard to see the picture when you're inside the frame. And by that, he meant that we all need a mentor. We all need a coach, someone who can look at us as we are inside the frame and tell us what they see. And I have to say, I have benefited immensely by a couple mentors in my life. And that would be my message to anyone who wants to take it to the next level and live up to their peak potential success, which is the name of your podcast, is to find someone who can look at you inside the picture frame and tell you what they see and give you some feedback because it's hard to see the picture when you're inside the frame.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. That is how success is like a picture frame. Uh, Once again, thank you for your time, your stories, your wisdom. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? And then also any final words?
So I have a website. That's just my name, Steve Fales, Steve, and my last name, Fales.com. And my email address is that as well, stevefales@gmail.com. And as far as any parting words, I just would like to say how much I appreciate you. Is that I know you've written several books yourself, and you have people like me and others. I've listened to very many of your episodes, and you have people on like myself. Here I'm here one time, but you're here 200 plus times. so so really, the accolades, the pat on the back, really belong to you. So
Well,
thank you so much.
thank
And
you
I
very
would
much.
say if anyone wants to reach out and go through the process of finding their core values or talking about the book, I do a study guide with the book that I don't charge for this stuff. So if anybody wants to reach out, but thank you for being Mr. Peak Potential Success. It's wonderful what you do for the world.
Well, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Everybody else, make sure you connect with Steve. He's helping out with regards to helping you find out your core values, which is obviously very, very important to help you focus and become more and more successful. So reach out to Steve. Until next time, Steve, Fong, today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.